Hey everyone, this is Seth. For those of you who haven't maybe watched our shows before, I am the co-host of our Wednesday night show, Horror Movie Massacre, and our Sunday night show, uh, the Horror Syndicate Discourse. Uh, Tonight, the original plan was for Ray and I to continue our coverage on the Evil Dead franchise with a discussion on Ash vs. Evil Dead seasons 1 through 3. Um, However, as Ray's dealing with some personal issues right now, uh, it's just gonna be me tonight, and I'll probably be on for maybe a half hour, maybe to an hour tops. I'm not sure when Ray will be back. Again, he's just dealing with some personal issues, so I figured I'd just kind of jump on and just kind of have a maybe a half hour to an hour, just a quick little thing on one of my personal favorite topics, which is werewolves. Um, what kind of inspired this is that I've been keeping a list of all the werewolf films that I watch. I'm eventually going to do a big ranking um, for the website, thehorsesyndicate.com. And right now I'm up to like 108. And the thing with this list is that there's a lot of films that um, can kind of seem questionable. There's certain films that some people may say uh, wouldn't really count for a list of werewolves. And I'll go over a couple of those in a bit, but I have a couple of different topics to talk about within the subject of werewolf films. Um, but Yeah, so the big one is certain films that don't count. Now, there's certain films where if I put them on my list, I'll have people say that doesn't count, that shouldn't be on the list, and then I'll have if I don't include them, then there'll be of course people who say stuff like why didn't you include this on the list? A couple of films that spring to mind are um, She Wolf of London from 1946, which is technically not a werewolf film, but it does deal with the subject of lycanthropy. And throughout the movie, the character does believe that she is a werewolf. Um, I included that on my list because it does deal with the subject matter. It just deals with it in a different way. It's sort of with that film, I kind of look at it as sort of like the way that I include Martin on like a vampire list, even though technically it's not a vampire, but he believes it's a vampire, and vampirism is the big theme of that film. Another one is Brotherhood of the Wolf. Now, this is one that I have left off my list plenty of times before, because personally, I don't count it as a werewolf film, and I've had people get mad at me for not including it. Um, Now, the thing with this is like that film, Brotherhood of the Wolf, it takes place in France in a time period, especially where humankind were very, very superstitious of things. And that film does lean heavy onto the whole mythology of werewolves and the beliefs of werewolves within that time. It and it leads you to believe that there is some sort of werewolf, but then there's like this kind of like twist at the end where it turns out not to be. So that's another one that kind of makes the list. And it's one that I'll put an asterisk next to because of the fact that it's technically not a werewolf film, but it does deal with the mythology. It does deal with like the werewolves are a very heavy theme into that. Another example, a more recent example, is the 2020 film The Wolf of Snow Hollow. I know it's more recent, so I don't want to give things away too much, even though just by mentioning it in this uh, version of the topic, I'm kind of already spoiling it a little bit. So if you haven't seen it, I apologize. But um, The Wolf of Snow Hollow is one of those films where the werewolf design that they have in there is freaking fantastic. And then when it gets to like this twist at the end, it made me mad because I wanted it to be a traditional werewolf film. Now, it's a film I enjoy very much. I like the way Jim Cummins directed it. I like the quirkiness of his character, who's really an asshole. Um, but by the end, spoiler alert, there's no actual werewolf. So that's a little disappointing. But again, it deals with uh, the, uh, the belief of a werewolf. It has a great werewolf design in there, even though it turns out to not be what it says it's what it's supposed to be. Um, but yeah, and that kind of leads me to the greater portion of this is the fact that um, there's other films on here that some people wouldn't count, like Wolfen. Some people wouldn't count Wolfen as a werewolf movie. Some people do, and it, it all goes to the sort of I don't know if necessarily if it's complex, but there's a variety of different types of werewolves throughout uh, humankind and human history. Uh, Especially in the times where people were very very superstitious about lots of things, and there wasn't quite the understanding of human behavior and mental health and all these other factors. So they kind of like explain away. Now, again, there's a variety of different types. So there are like I'm gonna do I want to do like a video where I kind of go a little bit more in depth into the history of werewolves throughout human history, and so I'm not going to go too in depth here. But like one of the earliest stories involving werewolves had to deal with King Lycan, who uh, tried to feed Zeus some food made of humans, and Zeus got mad and turned him and his kin into wolves. There's the witchcraft aspect or cursed aspect, where someone's cursed to become a werewolf. There's stories of people who put on special belts made of, of wolf skin, and it's like there's like one particular story from Germany um, where the guy says he made a deal with the devil, and the devil gave him the belt, and it turned him and his family into werewolves, and there's stuff like that. And then of course there's the type where you get bitten. There's the sort of more spiritual, protectors of territory type. There's just a variety of different types uh, of werewolves throughout our history, and so it just depends on, I guess, what you define as a werewolf. Um, and then with that too, there's different types, I guess. There's the quadrupedal. There's the bipedal. You have the berserkers, the Vikings who would wear the wolf pelts. Um, there's just a variety of different kinds. So coming up with a list of every werewolf movie and trying to determine what to include and what not to include is a little tough because throughout history, again, there's been different types. There's been different types of origins. There's different types of ways of one to become a werewolf. There's yeah, and so I just kind of like threw everything on my list uh, that had a werewolf, and then there's stuff that's on my list that is like the team up type movies like the Monster Squad. There's a werewolf in it, um, and it's really awesome werewolf. I love the Wolfman and the Monster Squad. But so that's included on the list, just like the Underworld films are included on the list, even though, with the exception of one film, they are more I think they're more biased towards the vampire side. However, it's it's a film involving werewolves and vampires, so they're not strictly werewolf movies, but I think for some of them the werewolves look great in them. I'm a particularly a fan of the werewolf William in the beginning of Underworld Evolution. Um, and there was another example here. One is I don't know. I was gonna include in that particular category Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, but think about that. That is more of a Wolfman sequel than anything. Um, so that kind of counts as a sort of a like a team up movie of sorts, where it's got the Frankenstein monster in there, and it deals with the Frankenstein family. However, story wise, it is more of it's definitely more of a Wolfman sequel than anything. Um, Trick or Treat, that's another one where it's got werewolves in it, but there's a lot more other things going on. It's not specifically a werewolf story. Um, all right, I'm gonna check the comments here. Got some comments. Scott Walker says, I think the three best werewolf movies of all time are Ginger Snaps, The Wolf from American Wolf in London, and the 1940 Wolfman. Those are all good films, definitely. American Wolf in London is not only my favorite werewolf film, but it's actually my favorite horror film of all time. Actually, Ray and I did a show on American Wolf in London back in like December, and I kind of like dig into why I love it as a horror film. Basically, to sum it up, I think it's a well balanced film. I don't necessarily agree with those that think of it as a horror comedy, because the I think there's more horror to it than the comedy. The comedy is pretty memorable in certain aspects, and that all comes from the characters and their personalities. But when the horror happens, John Landis really takes it seriously. So uh, go check out Ray and I's discussion on American Wolf London. Go much more into detail about everything I love about that film there. The 1940 Wolfman is my favorite of the classic Universal monsters, and I really dig Ginger Snaps. I think Ginger Snaps is where is it? Yes, it is. It is in my top 10. It's either it'll either be number 9 or 10. I enjoy Ginger Snaps a lot. I actually even like the sequel, Ginger Snaps Unleashed. Um, so yeah, those are all definitely good films. Scott Walker also says, "What are the chances there's a werewolf out there for 100%? Like the war from American? How terrifying would it be to hear that howl and singing a werewolf hook? Sadly wiped out one." Not quite 100% sure what you're saying there, but yeah, the howl from American Werewolf in London, I think, is like the best like werewolf howl on film, in my opinion. Uh, I love it, and like that howl is terrifying. Um, oh, okay, so we clarified. Sorry, I mean, what are the chances if werewolves are real and they look exactly like the werewolf from American Werewolf from London? How terrifying would it be to hear that howl? Yeah, definitely. One of the things that I like about werewolves is that they are, for the most part, savage in nature. So it's sort of like, uh, you come face to face with one, you're fucked. And I find that very terrifying. And that's why I don't care for a lot of like modern werewolf films that kind of lean into the silly side of it, or they try to make them just weak. Um, I just can't get into that because I think uh, what werewolves represent is the primal nature in all of us, and the sort of uh, the, the savagery that can just be unleashed because of the beast. Um, so, and that kind of leads to like one of the other topics I wanted to kind of discuss involving werewolves is a lot of the modern werewolf films, and how I don't really care for quite a bit of them because I think they take the wrong lesson from American Werewolf London. Um, they want to be funny. They think they have to take it, uh, as a joke and not take it seriously. But I strongly disagree with that. And a lot of times too, like the modern filmmakers, nothing personal against them. They're just not quite as funny or witty as they think they are. There's one particular film. Let me find the title here. Um, what was it called? A Werewolf in England from 2021. Um, now, for it's independent direct to video type film, and I wanted to like it. I thought the concept started off okay, but then there's just like this really nasty running gag that happens. I think maybe halfway, maybe a little bit past halfway, where these people are hiding from werewolves, and the werewolves just start shitting, and it's like nonstop shitting. It's just like gross out humor for the sake of being gross. It's it just kind of cheapened the film, and I just couldn't stand that at all. Um, so and let's see here. Scott also asks, who will win in a fight between the werewolf from American Werewolf in London and the Wolfman from 1940? Um, it's tough to say. I, I think there's two different sides to the nature of them, I guess. I guess they're both kind of savage, even though the 40 film couldn't, they couldn't show the violence. They alluded to it. There's dialogue about how the throats were ripped out. Um, and of course, they're both, good people who become werewolves and they don't want to be the werewolves. One wants to die, one doesn't want to die, but he knows he has to. Um, I think the 1940 Wolfman uh, has the advantage because he's more of like the human wolf hybrid. Uh, so I think he's got some more mobility to him than the quadrupedal. I would assume, um, but yeah, yeah, I think that's my answer to that. I would probably go with I'd probably go with the Larry Talbot. Can you post a link to your list? I quickly checked the Facebook and website, but didn't say. Yeah, I didn't post it quite yet. I'm at 108. I was gonna wait until I get to 125, but I haven't watched a few in a while. I was kind of like on a roll for a while, building up my list. But as soon as I do get as soon as I do get up to 125, um, I will post it to the website. Um, I got the 108 in some sort of order that I'm kind of fine with. Rankings are always difficult as is because it's hard to prioritize uh, one film over another because you can love multiple films, and then so like just trying to figure out this order. It's obviously not going to be for everyone. I always get grief for my werewolf list, um, but Yeah, as soon as I get to 125, I will definitely uh, uh, post it on the website. We'll share it on the Facebook, and then you can check it out. And if you want any recommendations, feel free to ask. There's the discussion usually about werewolf films in comparison to like vampire films is that the general consensus, and people aren't necessarily wrong for saying this, is that there's not as many good werewolf films. And after what I've seen, it's true, and there's a lot that are like from independent filmmakers who are trying, but it's just based on what they have for budget and for for availability of actors. You don't always get the best. And I try to like when I watch some independent world films, I try to keep in mind, budget constraints, stuff like that. Try not to be too harsh on them. Um, no one wants to make a bad film, and I totally understand that. There's some films, I mean, I got, quite a few towards the bottom of my list that I don't like, and it's, you know, but yeah. Scott says, "Do you see any similarities between American Werewolf in London and Ginger Snaps?" Well, yeah, definitely. It's the one is the quadrupedal, more monster wolf. Um, yeah, I am definitely sure. I mean, even with some of the like more like dry humor in it, I'm sure that the people who made Ginger Snaps were big fans of Miracle Wolf in London, and they did their own thing with it. And Ginger Snaps is definitely a lot of fun, in a weird way. What do you think of the idea of a female version of American Wolf in London remake with the same storyline but with a female perspective and actress playing the part of David? Um, See, I don't think that's necessary to a certain extent because it's weird that people would want to remake American Wolf in London when you can just tell another tale in that world. You can acknowledge the stuff that happened to David Kessler and uh, and uh, and Jack Goodman in the '80s. You can further explore the slaughtered lamb, um, in the whole community in East Proctor. Um, so I feel like I wouldn't have a problem with um, having female characters being the focus and uh, telling a story about them. Maybe do American Werewolves in London, and you could tell a new story set in that world. I think that would probably be the best bet. I wouldn't want to see a gender swapped remake. Um, I'm not harsh on remakes in general, but there's just certain ones that don't need to happen, especially when you have a whole world that you can explore and just tell a new story in. And maybe you could find some sort of connection thematically, or maybe have a returning character. But another thing too is, you know, um, uh, sort of like fan baiting. You know what I mean? Sort of like I'm I don't know. I'm kind of over a lot of the nostalgia winks and nudges that a lot of films do, when they don't need to be necessary. Like there's a way to have a good balance of this is a sequel and I'm taking it seriously as a sequel without winking and nudging at the audience nonstop. Be like, oh, do you remember this? Do you remember this? You know. Do you think one day you can do a full video on the entire Scream franchise? Yeah, yeah, I could. I know. Uh, was it in the winter? Ray and I did on our Wednesday night show. Typically, Wednesday night show is Horror Movie Massacre with myself and then the Horror Syndicate's owner Ray, and we go through each film of of franchises, and in the wintertime we did do all the Scream films. So you can definitely check all those out on our YouTube page. Uh, yeah, we did all six Scream films, and then we afterwards we did a ranking video where we kind of discuss our own personal rankings and the rankings based on our scores, which sometimes is actually different sometimes because sometimes uh, a movie is technically better than what I than if I actually like it or not. It's weird. I don't have to watch Ginger Snaps on DVD anymore. I can watch it on YouTube anytime I want. Yeah, I mean, you could. I prefer, so like me personally, like I think streaming is nice and uh it's a good tool, but I kind of go to my physical media um more often than searching on streaming, and I have the Ginger Snaps trilogy on DVD. I need to update those to Blu-ray. I like the first two a lot. The third film has stuff that I enjoy, but uh, I just don't understand why that particular film was made, especially given the way that the second film ended. Um, so, um, yeah, I would prefer to go with my DVDs, but I mean, you do you, man. A lot of people prefer to just have like not have the hassle of putting in a DVD or not taking up space with their DVDs. Me, I'm a physical media guy. So, oh, also Scott, do you like the second and third Ginger Snap? I don't think you've mentioned them at all. Yes, Ginger Snaps 2 was good. Yeah, I actually really enjoyed that one quite a bit. I like how I have a lot of respect for sequels that don't immediately just sort of mimic the one that came before it. So I like the I like the change in the overall tone of the film. I like the change in the setting, um, and I really like the ending too. I think the ending is just really awesome. So, how come there are more male werewolves out there than there are any female werewolves in the werewolf legend? Is just not fair, in my opinion. I think we should have more female werewolves in movies. That's true. I mean, yeah. I mean, I can't really argue with that. I know that there is, if you watch the Howland films, there's quite a bit. There's Marsha in the first film, and a couple other ladies in that community. In two, there's Sturba, and there's other female werewolves within her pack. Um, yeah, Howland 3, one of the main characters, what's her name? Jaboba. She's a werewolf or a marsupial. And then there's this werewolf that's a ballerina in part four. Part four is based on the same book as part one. So there's the martial like character, plus there's another lady from that community. Uh, part five, there's only one werewolf. The twist is the werewolf is a female. Uh, part six, I don't think there is a female werewolf in it. That's a male all the way through. Part seven, I'm not even going to explain that film. It's ridiculous. And then part seven, The Howling Reborn, there is the main villain is a female werewolf, and then another character becomes a werewolf who's female throughout. So in the Howling films, I think represent what you're looking for in that. And then of course you have the Ginger Snaps trilogy. Um, uh, Skinwalkers does. Trying to see what else. A couple ladies become werewolves in late phases. Um, But yeah, I mean, if you look at films, of course, like The Wolfman and American Wolf in London, and a few others, it is the males who are the werewolves, and typically speaking, too, there's those like Larry Talbot and David Kessler who are you know people who unfortunately became werewolves who don't want to be werewolves. Um, it's, making the basic tragedy of it. But then there's a lot of films too where the werewolf is clearly the antagonist, clearly a bad person. Stuff like Big Bad Wolf and um, something else. Uh, where or were whatever it's called, WER. Um, and the main character is a female in that, and so, I mean, because really, I understand what you're saying, but like, the horror genre, I think, is definitely the one genre that definitely uh, represents women. I mean, because they're typically the last ones standing. They're usually the survivors and the ones that fight. Um, oh, another film, Wolves, with Jason Momoa and Lucas Till. There's a couple females in there, so you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I get what you're saying. But what are the chances that could be a werewolf out there that looks exactly like the werewolf from American Wolf from London? Is it possible or not? Um, I don't necessarily believe in werewolves. Again, you know, werewolves have always sort of had a place in uh, human history, and especially in the times where we were just super superstitious about everything, and we didn't quite have, throughout time, we have better understanding with more and more research on human behavior and mental health and a variety of different things. But like back when these were uh, more prominently believed by people, it was just a way of sort of uh, trying to explain away or trying to find some sort of reason or understanding for some of the bad things that people can do. Um, uh, then again, I'll keep an open mind. I'll just say that we don't know everything that's out there in every inch of the world, so who knows? But yeah, oops, I thought I skipped a comment. I skipped a couple comments here. One of my favorite vampire films is Howlin' Six the Freaks. Yeah, Harker was a great villain in that, and I like the look of him too. That was really cool. The Howlin' Five and the Howlin' Six are two films I actually really enjoy. I know that series gets shit on, uh, but that's like a series that I just really enjoy. Um, Howlin' Five, I think, is underrated, by the way. I just bought off the idea of American Wealth One and remake because there's not any female werewolves out there. I just thought a female version of American Way. Yeah, well, I mean, don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. Like, your idea could work, but I think maybe not so much in a remake, um, but just have them be new characters that exist in that world. You can have a, a female or two that somehow come to the Slaughter Lamb and East Proctor, and maybe get turned into werewolves, and then just have their story be a little different. I just don't think it should be a gender swap remake, but I do support the idea of doing a sequel set in that world with new characters, with female protagonists. That'd be fine, definitely. Let's see. I think another sequel, a direct sequel, will be better than a remake. I definitely agree. Um, I definitely agree, and I feel like it's a shame that no one's really kind of explored that, because I think the whole thing with the slaughtered lamb is very interesting. That starts off the film, and then Dr. Hirsch goes there halfway through the film, but then they're just kind of like out of the picture after that. And I just kind of like want to know more about them and about that group, and about how they how they deal with this, how they come across this, stuff like that. And I think there's more stories to tell in that world. DVD is prettier. Yeah. Scott says he prefers the second ginger snaps. Yeah, the second one's really good. That one too. Yeah, it's a wild movie. How cold will it be if okay, how cool will it be if they did a werewolf multiverse movie like the Wolfman, Ginger Snaps, American Werewolf in London, and all the others come together to battle Dracula? Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I was kind of developing a story. Uh, I wanted to do this as a novel, but like kind of like throw in all the different types of werewolves together. So you have like the quadrupedal, the bipedal, so like the American Werewolf in London uh, type, the Howland type, then you have the Wolfman type, and then kind of throw in the Viking Berserker type, and maybe do sort of like a witchcraft type, like just kind of like throw in all the different types of like werewolves that have existed, and just do like this one big story about that. I think that'd be really cool. I really got to get back to writing. It's been a while. Do you remember that werewolf movie Curse with Joshua Jackson and Christina Ricci? Yes, I do. Um, I liked it. I prefer the unrated cut. It's a fun movie. It's a little goofy and silly, but I love the score for it. Um, Actually, if you're interested in knowing the original version of Cursed, um, uh, you should check out on our website, thehorrorsyndicate.com. I did this breakdown of the original script for Curse, because I don't know if you know, if you already know this, forgive me for repeating it, but they started shooting Cursed, and then they shot about 80 or 90% of it, and then the studio got involved and they shut down production. They demanded a rewrite of the script. Several actors, including Skeet Ulrich from Scream, left the project, and it just kind of got reshaped. But the original script is actually really good, and I did a kind of a very detailed breakdown of it. So if you're interested in knowing, if you already don't, go to thehorrorsyndicate.com and look for my breakdown on there. I think it's called A Different Beast, something like that. I think that's the title of the article. Um, but yeah, you should definitely check that out, because I think the original version is definitely a lot better. Karen was a great werewolf. Yeah, for like 3 seconds. I prefer the original Ginger Snaps and the second one. Yeah, definitely. The third one was just weird. Maybe that multiverse in a comic book miniseries? It's possible, yeah. Would a werewolf multiverse movie work? Uh, is possible. I think something like that would be probably expensive, and you'd have to probably get the right filmmakers to do it because, I mean, generally speaking, werewolf films they sort of have a stigma to them as being like bad movies. So you got to do something that kind of really appeals to people and that can really get people interested in it. But people like me, people like you, oh, we'd be into it. Werewolf and Curse looks like a cross between the Wolf from American Werewolf in London and the Wolfman. Yeah, I think that's what it was. The amazing thing about that too is Rick Baker was originally involved with Curse as far as designing a werewolf, and then they decided to do CGI. And he got screwed over there, and then a couple years later he got screwed over on the Wolfman remake, which I think is also fantastic, um, underrated as hell. Um, Hello, I love werewolves. Hello, I love werewolves too. Uh, what's your favorite werewolf movie, by the way? Ginger Snaps Back was an interesting turn. Together Forever has grown on me over the years. Yeah, it's one where there's certain things I do like about it. I felt like it was just a way to just kind of get Catherine Isabel back into into it as a lead instead of just appearing as a ghost figure. But at the same time, it's just weird too because I don't know the implication of fate with the Fitzgerald sisters. And then again, just the ending for part two, I thought was just was incredible with uh, with the way it almost kind of like felt like there's more story to tell. Like it just felt like this like kind of a cliffhanger of sorts ending, and I just kind of wish that the third film kind of followed up uh, the second film instead of just kind of going back into the past and all that. The werewolf we see in Ginger Snaps 2, who do you think the wolf is? I 100% do you believe that was Jason, the boy who was dating Ginger in the original? He was the one who was stalking Bridget. I think I think that was supposed to be the case. Yes, I believe so. I can't remember now. It's been a while since I watched him, but I thought maybe there was like a line of dialogue, like somewhere in the beginning of the second film, that kind of suggested that like it was the guy that had the unprotected sex with Ginger. Um, I believe so. Definitely believe so. Ginger Snaps, Dog Soldiers, Silver Bullet, The Howling, Underworld. Yep, Ginger Snaps really like love Dog Soldiers, love Silver Bullet, grew up on that, love The Howling, and I really enjoy the Underworld films. I really like, well, at least I think the first three are really solid. Four and five, they don't really offend me, but they're not quite as good. Okay. Yeah. So thanks for all the comments here, guys. It's been kind of fantastic. Um, um, Now, kind of going off my list, I talked about certain films that may count, may not. Although we got to keep in mind the history um, and how far they deal with mythology stuff like that. Um, I can name off all the ones that I love, but I kind of want to talk about some ones I don't love so much. Uh, uh, Werewolves of the Third Reich from 2017. That movie pissed me off because it is just a blatant ripoff of Inglorious Bastards. It's copy and paste Inglorious Bastards, and then it's like they remembered within the last like 15 minutes. Oh yeah, by the way, we have werewolves in the title. Um, so I just didn't care for that one at all. Because I don't have much respect for people who intentionally rip off other people. It's okay to be inspired by someone in their style, but I mean, do you really gotta like completely rip off story, dialogue, stuff like that? It just makes me mad. It's the same deal with Never Cry Werewolf. It's a complete rip off of Fright Night, uh, but with a werewolf instead, and Kevin Sorbo instead of Roddy McDowell. Um, there's certain films too. Again, I try to keep in mind the budgets, um, but stuff like 2023. We had a movie called Little Red Werewolf, super low budget, um, independent film, and I felt like it was a film that like once it started getting interesting, it just kind of suddenly ended. Um, but there's like a certain character in there who's very obnoxious. Um, I don't know if it's the actor or if it's just the way the character was written, but there was way too much focus on this character. Didn't really care for it. Summer of the Wolf, another super low budget film from 2023. Uh, you could obviously tell the person just wearing some sort of like suit that's been painted. Um, the acting is not great. The story just had potential here and there, but it just wasn't great. This year there was Hellhounds, which was garbage. It's a movie like they promote it as like biker werewolves versus a gang called the Silver Bullets, but that only happens in like the opening scene, and it's just a movie full of like really bad acting and just a dumb story. I think the villain of that, uh, she was entertaining. Like she has a little bit of personality, but it wasn't enough. I just didn't really care for it. Shaky Shivers from last year. Couldn't stand the lead characters. Couldn't stand really the goofy tone of it. Um, yeah. Um, trying to think here. And there's a couple films I like enough that are a little goofy. Uh, Wolf Hollow is not going to be for everyone. The humor in it's really dumb. Um, I thought the werewolves looked pretty good in it though. And again, it's just got like this goofy tone. The same with a movie called Scream of the Wolf or aka Wolf Manor, where it's like they had potential, but then they kind of ruined it by just trying to be like over the top and goofy. Like uh, just I just wish these modern filmmakers would take the material seriously. You know, um, uh, Bone Hill Road from 2017. I didn't really care for that. I know some people do. And maybe I was just in a bad mood. Maybe I just kind of overly judged it and not really kept in mind the fact that it was slow budget. The DVD cover is cool for it, but the movie not so good. Werewolf Island from 2020. Don't even really remember that. I just know it was bad and it's low on my list. Uh, Let me just take a look at my list here. Yeah, Blood and Chocolate. I thought the movie was garbage. I couldn't even finish it. I liked the book enough, but yeah. Uh, Snarlin from 2016, eh, not really great. Uh, Red Werewolf Hunter from 2010. It's got Felicia Day in it. Not really that great. The Amityville Moon from 2021. Not that great. Werewolf Rising from 2014. Not that great. Uh, Carnivore Werewolf of London from 2017. Not that great. I Am Lisa from 2021. Not that great. Bloodthirsty from 2021. Not that great. Although there's things I do like about that, but it's just not really for me. Um, The Beast Must Die from 1974. I think that's a film that could get remade, and I would love for it to get remade with more of a traditional werewolf because in that film, um, the person who's the werewolf just kind of like turns into like an ordinary looking wolf, and I would just prefer like, especially with that type of story, like if it was just like a, a normal looking werewolf, like it's kind of a cool concept for that story, but I kind of wish for a better werewolf. Um, Here's one that I know gets a lot of love, but I don't overly love it. Um, I think it's a good movie to a certain extent, and I'm glad I watched it. It was like a one-time watch for me, and I own it, but I'll probably never watch it again. And that is The Company of Wolves from 1984. Um, I think there's some cool effects in there. There's, good filmmaking all around. But there's something about that film it's not a rewatchable film for me. Um, yeah, didn't really care for that. I'm gonna get back to comments here. Okay, the wolf howl when you're in Ginger Snaps. What dog or wolf? German Shepherd howl. Do you remember the werewolf movie called Bad Moon? I love Bad Moon. I wrote a very positive review for that for the website. Um, my favorite thing about that movie is like it's like a pissing contest of sorts between the dog Thor and the werewolf, and it's just such a cool movie. And actually, if you get the Blu-ray that Scream Factory put out, you can watch what's called the director's cut, and the only difference is they took out that really crappy looking part of the transformation um, at the end. Um, so it actually kind of makes it a better movie. You know what would have made Ginger Snaps a hell of a lot better if we found out who the werewolf was, the one that attacked Bit Ginger in the original. Yeah, so you're talking about like maybe doing a prequel because that wolf got splattered by the van of the guy that sells pot. But that'd be kind of neat for them to um, do a film in that world and then have it end where the first one begins. I think that'd be kind of cool, especially if they did it as like a secret, sort of like you're watching the film and then they market it as from the people who made Ginger Snaps, and maybe they call it something else, and then at the very end it's like surprise, this is a prequel. I think that'd be kind of cool. I went to see a werewolf versus vampire movie. You can watch the Underworld films. um, I love the cover art for Company of Wolves. Absolutely terrifying. Didn't like the movie so much. Yeah, me neither. And like, that's one that I know is like kind of highly regarded. Um, there's a lot of people that would probably consider that like a top 10. But I just don't have the love for it that a lot of people do. Again, it's not a bad movie. It's just one that I will never rewatch again. Bad Moon is superb. Absolutely. The werewolf that attacked Ginger didn't look, and were able to. Why wasn't attacking and killing dogs? No idea. Do you think Little Red Riding Hood is a werewolf story? Yeah, I do. Definitely. Um, I will mention that there's another film that came out this year that I really liked, and not a lot of people seem to like it. I'm not quite sure why. Well, I mean, I guess I kind of understand why. So the film is called Blackout. It's from writer director Larry Fessenden, and it's definitely more of a Wolfman type story. Like it's definitely sort of like more in the vein of like the Lon Chaney Jr. type story of a man who is cursed, you know, after getting after surviving a werewolf attack and becomes a werewolf and doesn't want to be one. He's very humanoid in his features and the way he runs. Very much resembles the way that Lon Chaney Jr. did it in the original. But it's a slow paced film. It's very much a character study. There's a couple things that happen in it that just don't make sense. I feel like there's particularly a sequence like at the end that I wish they just did better as far as execution. Um, but I think overall, though, I really enjoyed Blackout. And I think the big part of it, the big reason why I did enjoy it is because they did take it seriously. It was about that sort of tormented person who was a monster who didn't want to be a monster. So I mean, if you know, it's a slow burn film, definitely. And if you do watch it, just keep in mind that um, even if I'm recommending it, there is quite a few people who don't like it. My cat is trying to piss me off right now. Go away, demon. And yeah, so again, it's slow burn. I think it's better than I think people are giving it credit for. Um, but I would definitely recommend checking that out. Um, I don't know. You guys got anything else you want to say? Um, I do want to have more on this topic, and I know there was some stuff I was planning on saying, but I kind of forgot about. Uh, I got distracted with all these comments from Scott and is it Jorhan? I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. I don't want to butcher it, buddy. Um, uh, are there any new ones in the works? Yes. So there's a film that is supposed to be coming out this weekend called what's it called? The Beast Within, I think, with Kit Harington. I think it's a limited release in theaters. I know my local theater didn't get it. I got to check to see if the theater that's like an hour away from me got it. Because I do want to check it out. It actually looks pretty good. If I think that's the title of it, The Beast Within. I could be wrong. And then there's that's coming out. And then there's a movie that's supposed to be coming out sometime this year. It was originally called Year Two, but now it's called just Werewolves, a super generic name. But it stars Frank Grillo, and from my understanding of it, it takes place like uh, a year after some sort of like supermoon happened to turn people into werewolves for a full night, something like that. It just sounds kind of cool. So I got high expectations for that. Um, then there's all these like independent direct-to-video ones that I keep finding. Again, I would recommend Blackout. There's a movie on Tubi called Bite, which is awful. Do not recommend that. I do not recommend Hellhounds, which also came out this year. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Of course, the list I have in front of me, the one I printed out a while ago um, before I had my most recently updated list. So I know I'm missing some. Um, God damn it! I'm trying to remember what the other new release was that came out. New as in new this year. Um, but yeah, I'm always on the search. Like I'll go randomly into like Prime and just type in like werewolf movies and then just kind of see what pops up. Um, so yeah, and then recently too, I got myself in trouble. The last time I published a list of werewolf films, I didn't have any Paul Naschy on there because I didn't see him. I'm not going to put titles on my list that I didn't see, and someone kind of gave me grief for it, and then I was like, "Hey, I didn't see it, pal." And they said, "Oh, well, you should." And then I started to, and there's some decent ones. They're kind of hard to watch, but I'm starting to like them. I think Paul Naschy's kind of cool, kind of cool. We'll look for the trailer. Yeah, you should. I love Paul Naschy. Yeah, he's kind of he's very likable as that character. He's sort of like the I can't remember the years that came out, like in the 50s, right? It's like the 50s version of 50s or 60s of Lon Chaney Jr. Uh, the 70s. I'm sorry. Yeah, the 50s. I don't know why. There's two films that I watched from the 50s back to back, and they both had similar themes. One was called The Werewolf in 1956, and another one was called I Was a Teenage Werewolf from 1957. I Was a Teenage Werewolf stars Michael Landon. And both sort of involve people becoming werewolves through uh, a science experiment. Um, so those were pretty good to watch. There is a sort of a fan film that I watch on YouTube called The House of the Wolfman, which is done in the style of the old Universal films, and it's from 2009. And so it's got that, uh, just like House of Dracula or House of Frankenstein, it's got that sort of mashup where you have the Frankenstein monster, Dracula, and the Wolfman in it. And it's shot, it's in black and white. It's shot sort of similar to the old Universal stuff. Do you think we'll ever see another Werewolf movie or not? I don't know. They've been trying for years now. I mean, even the son of John Landis, Matt Landis, was originally attached to write a script, but it just keeps falling through. I have no idea why. Um, if they do a remake or even a sequel, I'd be down for it. I would especially be down for a sequel, of course, more than a remake. But if they do a remake, I'll have to go watch it. I'm still collecting movies from the classic actors. Yeah, me too. Um, yeah, also love the Werewolf and Penny Dreadful. I gotta finish that. It's funny because when Penny Dreadful first came out, I started watching it and then I just stopped for some reason and I just never went back to it. And I have the first season on Blu-ray. I just never went back to it. The wolf we see attacking Ginger, does it look like an older here, or this looks like a young adult and why is attacking dogs? Um, Not really sure. I never really analyzed the werewolf that attacked and bit Ginger. Um, it's very possible that it could have been older. And as far as like dogs, probably just for food. I don't know. Or it could have been, maybe someone, I don't know, maybe someone, kind of their consciousness controlled it enough to try to keep it away from attacking humans as a safeguard. I don't really know, man. Um, It'd be interesting to find out. Again, I'd be kind of cool with that, a prequel. But yeah, so I've been on for over an hour. I'm just kind of rambling now, and I'm kind of incoherent. I do kind of want to, like, again, like I mentioned in the beginning, I do kind of want to dive deeper into uh, the the history of the mythology of werewolves in a much more in-depth manner, um, going through certain examples of different stories throughout human history. But um, I want to have my shit together for that one. Um, and again, I can always jump on and just talk about random werewolf related topics. I know I had a couple other things in mind to say that I don't remember now. Um, but yeah, I love werewolf films. I think what makes them stand out more than vampires is that they are just so much more savage and so much more terrifying. Um, and they're unpredictable. And then there's sort of the human element too of, there's all these stories about people who become werewolves who don't want to be. And how what they do kind of tears up their guilt. And then at the same time, you could have tales of people who are awful people who get this power of sorts. So I just absolutely love werewolf films. I love werewolf fiction. Um, and I wish some of the modern films would either drop the need to have an overabundance of humor, uh, trying to make things more funny, not taking the material seriously. I think the best thing you could do is take the material seriously. Just make it a terrifying film. Make the creatures terrifying and memorable. It's, for the love of God, stay away from CGI. Do practical. Practical werewolves look so much better. CGI werewolves look like shit. Um, I love different types of mythology and the stories. Would love to hear your thoughts on them. Yeah, I'll try to get my shit together. Some Ginger Snaps fans think that the wolf that attacked Ginger was a victim from another wolf attack. How many don't see that wolf? Is Yeah, definitely. It's possible. Um, yeah, that makes the most sense. Because I mean, even Ginger, right? She changes throughout the film. So like, her relationship with Bridget is um, is altered by this primitive new side to her because she's changing into a wolf. So you know, the, the wolf that attacked bit Ginger could have been someone who was once a good person who fell victim to a werewolf and changed. So I agree. Kathy says thank you. Well, thank you for showing up. Again, this wasn't really like planned. This was sort of like a last minute video. Um, the original plan was Ray and I were going to continue our coverage of the Evil Dead franchise with a discussion on Ash vs. Evil Dead seasons 1 through 3. We're still going to do that. I just don't know when. Ray's got some personal stuff going on. Not sure, when he'll be back or available again to do videos. Hopefully, things go well with him. but I'll try to jump on from time to time, just kind of keep things going. Even if I'm rambling about werewolves or anything really, I can find different topics to kind of bring up. But I just felt, I was like, you know what, I can go on and talk about werewolves. I wish I had a better plan for this tonight. I wish I was a little bit more organized, but again, I didn't really know until last minute that I was going to be doing this. But I think you three who chimed in and who kept the discussion going, who kept me talking, and yeah, hope you guys all have a good night. Thank you for joining me as I ramble about werewolves. It's just a subject I'm passionate about, and hopefully by the end of the year I'll have up to 125, and then I can publish a new list of my ranking. I know people aren't going to agree with me on certain things, especially with where I place the Wolfman remake from 2010. Because spoiler, I fucking love that film. It's super underrated, and I got it pretty high on my list. And people won't be happy with where I put the Teen Wolf movies. I'm not really a big fan of the Teen Wolf movies. They're fun. I used to like them when I was a kid, but again, I just don't like the goofy side of werewolf storytelling. So not high on my list. But yeah, for your next video, do the entire Scream franchise, please. Okay. You can talk about werewolves anytime. I'm here for it. Fucking A. No Teen Wolf for me. Yeah. Yeah, just not my thing. I'm curious about the show because it seems like it's a little bit more serious and darker. But I just haven't gotten around to it yet. One last thing before I go. I don't know if you guys have seen this show from the 80s, Werewolf the series. Fucking love it. It's awesome. I was able to get this bootleg Blu-ray, but they are available to watch on YouTube. Uh, just such a good show. Oh, I like this coming here. I am reading the Howland trilogy books. They are more scary than the movies. I love that trilogy of novels. I have this debate with a friend all the time because a friend of mine who recommended those books to me, he likes the first movie better than the first book. The first movie very loosely adapts the first book. Part 4 is actually closer to the first one. But I actually really like the first book. I know it's slow paced, and like once you sort of know what's happening, it's because like if you see the movie or if you read the book before, it's a community of werewolves, while the whole book try to sets up this mystery of who is the werewolf of Drago. And but like I still go to that book a lot. Like I own the entire trilogy physically, and I have them on audiobook through Audible. And I love them. And I think it's super interesting too that the second and third books were never adapted into the films. There's 8 films, and of those 8 films, only 2 of them are based on books, and those 2 are based on the same book, the first Howland. So like the I can kind of understand why they didn't go with the second book for a movie, because the second book actually follows the first one. Because spoiler alert, Karen doesn't die at the end of the first book. She doesn't even get turned into a werewolf. And that's a direct continuation. But the third book is more standalone, and I just feel like that would have made an excellent sequel. I just don't understand why they never went with that. Yes, I need to find it. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, the the Howland trilogy books I think are really really good, and I kind of wish that like we would get some sort of like maybe movie trilogy that were like book accurate. I think that'd be kind of cool. Is it really true Ginger Snaps was inspired by Werewolf London? Did the wolf look albino or just werewolf? Well, I think they as far as inspiration, you could tell that they liked the the Wolf of American Wolf in London, where it's on all fours. Of course, the one in Ginger Snaps is a lot more. It's like hairless. Um, so I think it's like it takes inspiration in a certain way, but not like in a full sort of we're gonna rip it off type of way. I do wish that the the wolves and ginger snaps didn't look so slimy and hairless. So I don't know. And to be honest with you, Scott, like I don't know much about the making of ginger snaps. I really got to get the Blu-rays. I don't know what they have for features on there, but I'm very curious about like an audio commentary or even like a making of to just kind of hear the filmmakers talk about like what kind of inspired them to make that film. Um, I wish I knew more for you, buddy, but I don't. But Amazon, yeah, I did too. Did you get the ones that have like all the they have the connected covers where all three kind of make one big image? Um, because those are the ones I have. Or is it the one where it's got all three in one volume? Let me know. You know what made Ginger sounds very scary for me is the sound the werewolves they use lion and leopard sounds to make it more scary. Yeah, yeah. I didn't remember this. I'm trying to remember the sound effects. I showed Ginger Snaps to my kids like last year, I think. But I think that was the last time I watched it. I am due for a rewatch for sure. Well, I am off for real this time. Damn it. Didn't Wes Craven make a werewolf movie starring Christina Ricci? Yeah, Cursed. It's an okay film. It's entertaining enough. Um, I had mentioned to someone else early on when that film got brought up. I don't know if you know the history of Cursed, where uh, you know Kevin Williamson wrote a script. Wes Craven was brought on to direct. They brought in actors. They had Christina Ricci, Jesse Eisenberg. They had Skeet Ulrich, and they shot about 90% of the film. And then the studio came in and was like, no. They shut down production. They forced a complete rewrite of the script, and uh, it was a process for like maybe 2 years. And eventually, Skeet Ulrich left, and they just written his character out and they changed things around. But if you want to know the details of the original script for Cursed, go to thehorrorsyndicate.com. Um, if you go to the search bar, just type in like a different beast. I think that's the title of the article. But I break down the original script for Curse, which I think is really, really good. Um, so check that out. Yeah. Good night and pleasant dreams. Tell him Freddie sent you. Yes, Carlos, of course, was Craven did Werewolf movie called Curse. Yep. I like Cursed. Yep. I mean, when Cursed came out in theaters, I liked it too. It was fun. It was just this little goofy. I do like the score for the film quite a bit. And then of course, when it came to like DVD, they put out the director's cut, which just added in some more gore effects. Made it a little bit better, but I do wish that they went with the original script and the original direction for Cursed. Um, and actually, in my article that I wrote, where I broke down the original script, I don't know if it's still there, but at the bottom I included this segment from Entertainment Tonight that I found on YouTube that shows some of the original footage, and it has like sort of like this interview with Skeet Ulrich. Um, so check it out. We'll look for it. Good night. Did you like Jack Nicholson as a wolf? Yeah, I've I have a soft spot for that film. I watched it when I was a kid, and I always enjoyed it. And of course, it was like, hey, it's got the Joker and Catwoman in it. I think it's an interesting film. Um, it's not my top 10. I don't remember if it's my top 20. Where did I fucking put that film? Now I gotta look. I got Wolf at number 32. That can't be right. Nah, I gotta change some shit around on this ranking. No, it's better than that. It's better than some of the other. Well, again, this is my old list. I did shuffle things around since, because initially I just started just like typing in and just kind of randomly placing. But I'll take a very strong look at it before I publish it finally. Years ago, I was reading this thing on the internet about American Wolf in London, and ginger snaps people with a debating who will win in a fight between these two werewolves. I would, you know what? Maybe I'm biased. American Wolf, the werewolf from American Wolf in London. That's what I'm gonna say. It's nice talking to you. I just hope we can do a whole stream video next time you're live on YouTube. Okay, I will keep that in mind. Again, and if you want to check out some of the Scream stuff that we did, Ray and I, Ray and I discussed each film individually, and then we did a ranking video. Um, but if you want to be, I understand you want to be part of the conversation. Um, but yeah, I like the Scream franchise enough, so I wouldn't be opposed to kind of talking about them again in retrospect. Um, Especially part two. I love part two. I need to look for more movies I don't have. Where is the best place to search? I I look on Amazon. Um, yeah, Amazon for sure. I mean, yeah, I don't know if you could just type in like werewolf movies and it'll come up with like a list or whatever. But if not, you could always like once I publish this list, you can take a look and just try to find them. Um, but usually Amazon um, or go to your local stores if you have any, Walmart or whatever. But Do you think Matthew Lillard, aka Stu, Scream movies? Do I think he's still alive? Um, I don't know. Don't know. It, it seemed definitive with the way the first film ends, but I'd be open to him return, but that'd be very nostalgia bait. But I'm open for it, as long as they do it right. Thank you again. No, thank you. And Scott says, I'm a definite Stu believer, and I do believe he is going to return in a future Scream movie, and he will get his revenge on Sid. Yeah, um, definitely. Uh, I could see that. I could definitely see that, and I think that'd be exciting for fans for sure. Um, they would just have to do some mental gymnastics to explain how he survived. No, Stu is dead. Werewolves and the wrong guy to talk to. I like a few, but I'm a vampire dude. Yeah, a lot of people prefer vampires over werewolves. I think the general consensus is that there are more better vampire movies than there are good werewolf films. Um, I've seen a lot of shit, a lot of shitty ones. Look, I know a lot of fans out there saying Stu was the one that killed Dewey in the hospital. I'm one of those people, and I think he will return in the future. Though. And no, I really think it was Amber that killed Dewey. I, I take her word on it. Um, and Scream has always had that problem with, the with sort of like the physical shape of the people who turn out to be killers versus the stunt people who wear the ghost face costume. We saw that in part four, where it's like two short people, two short, really skinny people, and when you see Ghostface throughout, But all right. Anyway, I do got to jump off. So thank you guys very much for tuning in with me and commenting. And hey, I'll try to do this again sometime. Maybe continuing on with the topic of werewolves, sometimes with other topics. Have a good night and evil dies tonight.